I hope you have a beautiful, magnificent, phenomenal week. All right. I apologize. I was hoping to get right back to this book at the library a few days ago, but my papa went to the emergency room and I had to go see about him. So, family first. Okay. Let's get started, shall we? We ended with, I've learned a lot since I've been with y'all. I done learned about SERP and everything else. But we're going to finish what we have started. By the way, thank you. I looked at my numbers on YouTube, um, and you all have seemed to be enjoying what I've been putting out. A few of you all have not subscribed. If you like what I'm doing, please smash that like button, honey. And that way you can support the channel and I can bring you more content that you adore or like. Things of that nature. All right, I'm at the Libby. So we're going to get it in. We're going to get it started. We're going to keep it moving. The last time I left y'all was on the vibration, sympathetic resonance. And we was talking about Khalil Gibran, who is a poet. Okay. All right. So let's now talk about the flip, and that is chapter 2. I'm on page 26, the myths about money, and it is Dan speaking. He's answering the question of let's discuss each of the myths in detail. Myth number 1, you can attract money and wealth into your life using the power of your mind. The essential idea behind the law of attraction. Describe this idea in popular culture and why it is at best a half-truth. So we've done a couple of pages. I've talked about the different laws in the previous episode, which I'll post later because I didn't want to do it without completing the chapter. Okay. All right, so the flip side of the law of attraction, which they don't talk about, is called the law of repulsion. If you take 2 magnets, and you try to push the same poles together, the magnets will push apart. This is a part of many electrical devices. The motor will spin in a certain way, but if the magnets are put in wrong, it won't work at all. Okay, kind of like batteries. Therefore, if you think a negative thought, then what will happen is you will actually repel out of your life what it is you want to have. I have to repel negative thoughts several times a day. The best way for me to do that is to pause, breathe deeply, let things go intentionally, whether it be music, whether it be dance, whether it be singing, whether it be something I'm working on. I pause for that moment. I exhale. I think about what is very pleasant to me. I breathe. I let it go. And I repeat as needed. That part. And you're going to have to do a lot of repetition as needed. Okay? That's why I said you never think negative thoughts about people who are financially successful. You actually repel all hopes that you could ever have to be financially successful. Some have negative ideas with regard to money, like rich people are bad. It's usually taught to you by your parents when you're young. Yep. Usually they're poor and they're angry and so on. Rich people are bad. If you believe that, then you'll never be financially successful because you'll be sabotaging yourself. Stop the self-sabotage. Stop it. When those thoughts come in, you just stop them automatically. That's why so many people engage in self-sabotage after they make a lot of money. Comic Robin Williams had this funny one-liner. He said that cocaine is God's way of telling you you're making too much money. Dang. I like Robin Williams. Every so often, you have cases where a taxi driver will report that somebody left a briefcase full of money in their cab, or people will lose a large amount of money some other way. It will fall out of the car on the street. These are all subconscious acts of self sabotage, where a person does not believe they deserve success. I struggle with that every day. And I go back to my books on wealth consciousness and I read them to confirm that that is my birthright. Not that I don't know it, but because the other part of my mind is like, really, girl? And then society's like, huh, what? I have to reconfirm some things. I have to drill it in me. I have to every day. And it's okay that you battle with your mind and you have to put your subconscious and your mental in order until it is not the boss of your life. That you are making the decisions and it is to follow whatever decisions you make. Okay? Hello, welcome, darling. Another important part of the law of attraction is feeling deserving. It is such a big issue that almost all problems come from people believing they do not deserve to have good things happen to them. They work extremely hard on the outside, but inside they have a negative vibration. On the outside, they actually work themselves to death. They'll work 16 hours a day. Sometimes they'll overdrink, they'll overeat, they'll destroy their marriages and their families. They'll have a heart disease and other illnesses and so on. They'll make a lot of money and then they'll sabotage themselves because deep down inside they don't believe they deserve it. They set up this law of repulsion, which takes all the success that they have so desperately work to achieve and it drives the success out of their lives. I know everyday people just like this. I battle not to be this everyday person that thinks just like this. I had a friend who built one of the biggest and most successful businesses in the United States, a multi-million-dollar business. He came from a very poor background. One day his accountant came to him and said, if we were to do a couple of little mechanical changes on the cash register, we could carve out a few cents per transaction and it would kind of disappear into a separate account. At the beginning, he needed the money. But as the business grew and grew, this amount became millions of dollars, and he got caught because the same person who had introduced him to the idea was given a chance to roll or go to prison. So he rolled on his boss, whom he sold into the idea. His boss, wealthy, successful beyond imagination, a national legend, was sent to prison for 8 years. What about your friends? You have none. You have no friends when you are building to obtain wealth. You can learn that from recent people like Will Smith's best friend of 40 years, Brother Bilal, who just flipped on him. Baby, when you are on the road to financial freedom and obtaining wealth beyond your own recognition or whatever it is, you have no friends. All friends are gone. No friends. Okay? All right. Just the most incredible thing, because of his poor background, he had this feeling that somehow he didn't deserve it, so he engaged in acts of self-sabotage. He should have told that person, no, I got my own plans. I don't need whatever box you're trying to put me in or set me up in. And you can keep it. I declined that invite. And I'm going to continue on with whatever my intuition is saying without whatever it is you're adding to it. You've got to learn the words no. All right? The law of attraction is your thoughts emotionalized. It's like a lamp. You could have a lamp and you could say that this lamp should give off a wonderful light, but not if it's plugged into not if it's not plugged into electricity. A thought by itself has no emotional context. It's a neutral. Now, yep, until you say it to someone and the two shall become one. Two or three are gathered together, then it's only a thought. It's basically an inert substance. It's only when you multiply that thoughts times an emotion that the thoughts start to have power. That is why we say that everything you have in your life is attracted to you by the way you think. You can change your life. Because you can change the way you think, when you develop a burning desire for financial success and think about it all the time, you set up a force field of positive emotional energy that attracts people, ideas, and opportunities into your life to help you make your goals into reality. That is very true. When I first started and I didn't feel like I had anybody and I started studying, people started to pour into my life. I started going to other events that had the same like mine. I feel like there's hope. I now have a supportive system. Yes, because at first I felt alone. Now I know I got a whole spirit team and human beings as well that have the same idea as far as conscious levels as where I'm at. So your tribe will come. Tribe. There's a finger-like part of your brain called the reticular cortex, which is responsible for the reticular activating system. When you emotionalize a thought or desire, you actually send a message to that part of your brain, which then becomes hypersensitive to anything in your external world that may enable you to bring about that desire. Baby, that is a beautiful thing. Be very don't be loose when you talk to God or your creator or the universe and you verbalize or you write out. It's best to write it out actually. What you want, be very specific. Okay? Say you decide you want to own a red sports car. You suddenly start to see red sports cars everywhere. You see ads for red sports cars. You see red sports cars turning corners two and three blocks away. You see red sports cars parked in garages and driveways. It's because you've told your subconscious mind that you are interested in a red sports car. That is part of the law of attraction. I'm going to put a little star right there. If you decide you want to take a vacation to Hawaii, you start to see advertisements for vacations. If you decide you want to lose weight, you see advertisements for weight loss everywhere. Let me see. Vacations, weight loss. Okay. This is the way your brain helps you to succeed in life. It helps you to survive and thrive. Look at your financial life today and see how it harmonizes with your thinking. We do need to do that. Let's put a check mark there. Take full credit for all the good things in your life. They are there because you have attracted them to yourself, and look around at the things you don't like and take full responsibility for them as well. They are there because of you as well, because of some flaw in your own thinking. What is that law, and what are you going to do about it? What is it that you're attracting to your life, or what is it that you are not? Put a star there too, because I need to visit that later. All right. Watch my time. Okay, good. Attracting. Let's take a very simple example. Self-made millionaires. I started researching this many years ago. I was asked by a company if I would give their 800 independent business owners, distributors, a lecture on how to become self-made millionaires. That sounds like an expensive meeting. I said, of course. Of course he did. I hung up the phone and I realized that I was 38 years old. I always wanted to be a self-made millionaire from the time I was a teenager, like everybody else, but I was still broke and still struggling and still in debt, and I really didn't know much about self-made millionaires. Wow. I had 2 months before I gave this talk. Let me give me some water. This is good. So I sat down and did some research. I began to do some reading. I started off with The Millionaire Next Door and Selling to the Affluent, both by Thomas Stanley, Stanley. I'm going to need to read those. Let me put a little star here. I started to realize that self-made millionaires are people who have a mindset that attracts wealth. That mindset is a series of ways in which they think most of the time. If you think the way that they think most of the time, you start to set up a very, very high level of vibration. This vibration emanates from you like radio waves and like a magnet start to draw into your life all the things that you need. Check. Then I went and gave this talk. It was very well received. It was called The 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires. I wonder if that's on the internet. I'm going to look that up. I was asked to give it again and again, and I originally gave it in 1 hour form. And then someone said, well, we have a 90-minute slot. Oh, wow. Can you give it in 90 minutes? Yes. How about half a day? Eventually, I gave it over a full day period. It took an entire day, 6 to 7 hours of delivery with breaks and lunch to deliver this seminar because I kept expanding on each of the 21 principles. Honey, hold on, baby. I'm going to need to come back to this page later. Excuse me, y'all. All right. The most interesting thing happened. Within 5 years, I was a millionaire. The more I taught these principles, the more I thought about these principles, and the more I practiced them. You become what you think about most of the time. You also become what you teach most of the time. So if you start to teach these principles to someone else, you start to internalize them at a deeper level. You start to increase the intensity of vibration. If you teach these principles with conviction and you really feel strongly about them and you try to get people enthusiastic about them, you start to resonate at a higher level more and more things start to happen that attract money and more money comes into your life. Whew, hallelujah. Most self-made millionaires come from business, but most of them become millionaires because without realizing it, 1 year after several years of work, their accountant told them, by the way, you're worth more than 1 million now. They say, really? How did that happen? They were so busy doing their work, so focused on their work and getting paid really well for it that they weren't even looking at the accumulation of worth. It just happened. You better stop it. This whole paragraph is lovely. Put a big heart right there. That's what happened to me. I sat down because I had to fill out a form to borrow money from the bank, and you had to list all your assets. I had to collect them all and write them all clearly. I thought, oh my God. I'm worth 1.1 million this year. I had to call my wife. Bring. This is real net worth. This is what banks consider to be value, home equity, assets in the company, savings accounts, stocks, and bonds, and so forth. The more you study the field, the more you set up this field of vibration. The more you think clearly, the more you will attract what you think about into your life. For example, if you want to become a millionaire, imagine a check made out to your name for $1 million. Woo, hallelujah. Just think of the check. Just look at the check. Just imagine that check made payable to you for $1 million and put a date on it. Hold on, wait a minute. It told me to put a whole date. Date. I'm gonna fold this page right here. Hold on. There is a famous story about Jim Carrey, the actor who wrote out a check to himself for $10 million for one movie. My God, Jim, really? This was when he was a junior comedian. He had moved down from Toronto to Hollywood, and he would go and sit up in the Hollywood Hills and look at his check. The check was made out to Jim Carrey, $10 million for one movie. He would look at his check over and over again, and within a few years, he was offered $10 million to star in a movie. Hold on, wait a minute. He said he was exactly the amount he had written on the check. Taraji says she was having trouble getting paid for The Color Purple. And here it is, Jim Carrey got $10 million. I can see why they're upset. Her, Monique, and some other people. He got paid $10 million. $10 million for one movie. My God. Read and feed this picture. You see, every time you feed a picture of your desired goal into your mind, your subconscious mind takes it to like a snapshot, puts it into your permanent subconscious program, and it sees it over and over again. Check. Another way that you can see it is to see yourself doing the work that you would be doing to earn money. Many salespeople will visualize selling big products, selling big accounts, closing big deals, whether it's in insurance or ships or planes or stocks or bonds. They'll see themselves mentally, visually, themselves interacting with customers, seeing the customer smiling and signing the check and signing the contract. I put dream to life beside that. A little heart. All right. Another way you can do it, and this is what my wife and I did. You know what? They used to talk about me at my old job, United Health Group, when I was on Alabama, when Marsh or O'Malley's used to exist. One of the guys said he was so ticked because every time I came to a meeting, I brought my pen, my different color pen, and I had my different color highlights. And honey, I'd just be a market. He said, you used to work my nerves. I don't know what he's doing now, but I'm still writing notes, highlighting, folding pages, growing, except now I got my own businesses and I continue to go with them. Let's keep going. Another way you can do it, and this is what my wife and I did, is to start looking at the kind of home that you will live in when you are wealthy. I've already done that. I've done that several years ago. Every Saturday, my wife Barbara and I would go to open houses in the wealthiest neighborhood. I haven't done that, but I should. We'd walk through really expensive homes, talking about what we'd like to see in our home. We'd talk about having this and that, having a staircase in the backyard, a pool, a gym, and all of those things. But about 3 years after doing this, we had moved in from a rented house to a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, which we sold. Then we moved from Canada to California and looked back and looked at 150 houses and walked into this house. In 40 money spells, I'm not really sure which number it is, but she said to walk into whatever, she gave us exercises, walk into whatever department store, imagining whatever it is you're looking at you can afford, Valerie Love. And then as far as she gave us websites to look at, instead of putting your own amount in there, putting a higher amount so it would give you the higher amount so your brain would be like, oh, you can't just afford the lesser amount, you can afford the higher amount. So you have to exercise your brain, okay? We both looked at each other and we knew this was the house. This was a house we had visualized, written down, talked about in the price terms, everything we could afford, they accepted. Everything just fit together neatly, and we've been in that house for 28 years. Wow. As you get older and your kids move away, you think of moving to something smaller, but we don't ever want to move away from this house. They probably have to carry us out, as they say. Put a little heart there with a little balloon. In other words, it was exactly the house we've envisioned. We had written down 42 things we wanted in a perfect house. After we seen this house, we checked off the list. It had all 42, the most amazing things. That's how you set up the force field. You pray. In other words, you pray, visualize, get a clear mental picture of what you want, and then move your feet. I'm going to repeat that. You pray, visualize, get a clear mental picture of what you want, then move your feet. You pray, visualize, get a clear mental picture of what you want, and then move your feet. I'm going to do it one more time. You pray, visualize, get a clear mental picture of what you want, and then move your feet. Because it is only in moving your feet that you actually hit the tuning fork. That is when you hit the tuning fork and set up the vibration. If you don't do anything, I know a lot of folks that don't do nothing. They just do a lot of talking. Faith without action is dead, and if you don't do anything, nothing happens. My God. Woo! Unfortunately, in all the stuff that's written about the law of attraction, the word work never appears. They imagine that you can have something for nothing, and going back to what we talked about before, this is one of the worst myths of all, this something for nothing myth. It says I can take out more than I put in.
The library will be closing in 15 minutes. Public computers will shut down automatically 5 minutes before closing. If you have any materials to be checked out, please take them to the circulation desk at this time. If you need assistance finding materials, please come to the information desk.
I'm going to finish the sentence up, then I'm going to order my Uber because it's really cold outside. It was 4 degrees this morning, 20 degrees when I just checked, and all this chocolate can't be melting outside, plus I got a tinkle. So I'm going to finish up to page 55. The fact is you can only take out a small part of the value that you create. You get a slice of the big, as they say in New York. You get a percentage of the commission on the value that you create. So you can only take out what you put in, and if you don't put in, you can't take out. You've got to invest in yourself. The idea of something for nothing is killing so many people in so many fields all over the world. This misconception, this myth that you can get something out without putting something in is turning people into mental criminals. They're angry at those who have earned money. Ooh, let me put a 1 beside that. They demand that their money be turned over to them by the force of the government. Let me put a 2 beside that. That money can be taken away from the successful. Let me put a 3 beside that. That successful be punished and so on. Let me put a 4 beside that. And that they should be given money that they do not deserve and that they have not earned. That is 5 and 6. That's the problem with the idea of something for nothing. As you know, I've written and recorded extensively on the subject, practically at every single aspect of the problems in the world as an example of expecting something for nothing. Einstein spent his whole life looking for a unified theory. This theory would be the one physical principle that would explain everything on Earth. Einstein was interested in physics, not humans. Okay. I spent almost 30 years looking for a unified field theory of human life. I found it. I called it the E factor. This stands for, hold on, wait a minute. E factor. This stands for the expediency factor. And it says that human beings are neither good nor bad, but they always seek the fastest and easiest way to get things they want with little or no concern for secondary consequences. Turn my money faster, fast like my Lambo. Woo, woo, woo. All right. If you understand that, it explains all the problems. Let me put a little star here. It explains criminality. It explains welfare. It explains unemployment. It explains drunkenness, lack of application, laziness. It explains all your social problems, all your international problems, dictators, thieves, criminals, marauders. I'm going to have to look up that word, but not right now because I got 10 minutes left. Marauders. All of the wars have been wars of plunder throughout history. Wars. I don't like war. The first thing the Nazis did in World War II was to plunder the countries they invaded. Plunder. They plundered them and stole everything. Everything. That wasn't nailed down, and most things were nailed down. They were simply wars of plunder. They stole and stole and stole. Look at every single conqueror. Ooh, honey, you are talking deep. Saddam Hussein had, 19 palaces? As people were eating dirt, he built billion-dollar palaces. Wow. The recent head of the Ukraine had billion-dollar palaces. Head of Ukraine. Putin is now worth millions of dollars. It's just pure plunder, something for nothing. It's very easy to slip into because it's very easy to rationalize. The mind of a criminal. Or thief, criminal, whatever. So the desire to get something for nothing, the desire to get something that you have not earned and do not deserve is one of the things that destroys all the hopes and the dreams of people worldwide. Sounds like the government. Maybe. I'm going to stop here on page 55. I'm going to order my Uber and go tinkle. I got 3 bags here. But Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back, of course. I appreciate your patience. I've had some unexpectancies. I do have some more stuff to post, but I will do that once I get in the warmth at the house before I go to sleep. I do have a poem. I can do that. I got a few poems, but I'll do a PG poem real quick that I wrote yesterday, actually. Hello, darling. How are you, love? Good to have you here. The people on the P Hub asked me, I've gotten a lot of invites. I've declined a lot of invites because I have my own parties and thoughts that I want to attend to. And in a particular fashion, and I'm not just settling with me being the author that I am for anything. So I was thinking, let's see, here it is. I had to actually go look up the anatomy of an oyster. I have not had time during all the years I've lived to really even pay attention to the anatomy of an oyster. But the thought kept coming to me, the world is my oyster, which is a quote I looked up by Shakespeare. Okay. The world is my oyster, quote by Shakespeare. Oyster anatomy, freedom of speech. On its mantle I sweat out sweet honeycomb libations of poetry, soul, rhythm, and blues with chants and spells. Sometimes together we rock. Everything with set intention and precision. Only in freedom, dance, and buoyancy do I let it slow roll. Unhinge the left and right shell of my lobes, I can see all fringe benefits that lay at my terrain behind my abductor muscles. Seizing my own Umba has, is, and always will be the greatest abduction. I swim through this creation's gills and open up its bellies to receive me because life is my birthright. Whether on land or in ocean, cupped or flat, I slide through tracheas faster than a fresh hurricane in the middle of the sea. Quiet storm to devastation. Oya rides thunder like a water buffalo through the marketplace with her constant lightning bolt, gather the energy in rain buckets or return it back to me from the sky. No chaser needed. Swallow me raw and whole. After the storm, can't be seen my rainbow. Inspired by Goddess Yemiya Oshun. It's been lovely. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I thank you. If you liked what I've delivered, please smash the like button, loves. And I will chit chat with you later. Mwah.